right, so before we can talk about factoring, let's first just remind ourselves what are factors. So factors are items that multiply together to create a product, right? So when I take 2 times 3, 2 and 3 are our factors that equal 6, right? When we were doing prime factor trees, and I'm giving you numbers like 12 and asking you to find the prime factors, well, everything that I say multiplies to that number, those are factors. So like 12, we could go with 3 and 4 being factors. And then 4 has the factors of 2 and 2. And so then the prime factors of 12 are 2, 2, and 3. And so like we would say that 2 squared times 3 is the complete factorization of 12. Now, when we're talking about polynomials, in the last video, we were taking items like x squared, maybe, or it freezes, x squared times like 4x cubed plus 2x minus 7, something like that. And we're distributing that through. So when we talk about factoring, these are my two factors. X squared and 4x cubed plus 2x minus 7. Those are my two factors, and then the answer we get is called the product. So when we talk about taking a polynomial and factoring it, basically what we're figuring out are what are the two items, the two polynomials that created this polynomial or our product of polynomials. So basically this slide is just to remind you that factors are the numbers, variables, terms that multiply to a product. So now let's actually factor. So we're going to be factoring just the greatest common factor. So if you forgot what GCF means, that's greatest common factor. And from here on out, it will only be referred to as GCF, just because mathematicians like to make things shorter. So we're going to factor the following. 5x cubed plus 25x squared plus 45x. What we are trying to do is find the biggest factor that divides out of all of them. So each of these ends in 5. So that means I'm going to divide out of 5. All three of these also have x's. And so basically, and this is what I have always told my Algebra 1 students, what you are looking for, if I can find my pen again, maybe. It's being a pain, all right, is you want the biggest number that can come out of all of them, but you're going to take the smallest exponent. And the reason we're taking the smallest exponent is because that's actually the biggest item we can take out, because I can't take x squared away from just x. But that's the kind of mentality that we're going to think is I'm going to find what is the biggest number that comes out, and then I'm just going to find the smallest exponent, and that's what I'm going to take. Now, if not all of the terms have a variable, then you're not going to take a variable out. So you don't necessarily always take a variable out. In this case, we are. So we're going to divide everything by 5x. And basically, we're doing the reverse of the distributive property. So now I'm pulling the 5x back out to the front of my parentheses. 5x cubed divided by 5x is just going to be x squared. 25 divided by 5 is 5. X squared divided by x is x. And then 45x divided by 5x. 45 divided by 5 is 9. X divided by x goes away, and it's just, we're left with just the 9. And that is our final answer, because we're just factoring out the greatest common factor. Now, there will be a time, although this one doesn't, that we will be able to factor this trinomial. But at this point, this is a prime trinomial, meaning there's nothing else. 1 in itself multiplies to x squared plus 5x plus 9. So just putting that out there, that will be our next step, is actually factoring the trinomials. All right, I think we have one more example. Let me double check. Yep. So again, I'm just looking, what is the biggest number and smallest exponent? So when I look at my biggest number, 3 is going to be the biggest thing I can pull out, so that's going to go out to the front. But when I look at this, the 12 doesn't have a variable, so I'm not taking out any variables. I'm just going to divide out 3. So then I get 3x to the 4th divided by 3, which will leave us with just x to the 4th. We're going to take this negative 9 divided by, or 9x squared divided by 3, so I'll still get a negative, but 9 divided by 3 is 3, and the x squared stays because there's no, we're not dividing by any x. And I'm going to take my negative 12 divided by 3, which will give me a negative 4. And then that is our final answer. And then if we were able to factor the trinomial, which we're not at this point, we would factor the trinomial. But that is factoring the greatest common factor. So basically, when we multiply a monomial with a polynomial, we distribute through, and then factoring out a greatest common factor is just the reverse of the distributive property. So, until next time, 8th graders, deuces.